Welcome back to the second installment of Thomas Jackson here on the Porch Sessions in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Thomas, it was a very cool tune, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us. You know, I think you are the first person that we've had on the Porch Sessions who's also a visual artist. Well, you're the first one that's actually
admitted to it.
Yeah. So, and now you came here to Southern, and it's an art major, right? Not as a music major, and you came as a graphic designer, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I was wondering, you know, let's talk about that. I love this multi-dimensional side of what you're doing as a visual artist, as a musician, as a writer, and so tell me a little bit about your work.
Well, I'm working on a comic book called Rip Raymond, which is sort of my version of Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, your kind of old school 1930s pre-Star Trek sci-fi guys, you know, with rocket ships and ray guns. And he's a character I came up with when I was in like the 6th or 7th grade. I was pretty young, you know, and he's just sort of stuck in my head all these years. And over the years, I've, you know, at various points in my life, I've sat down and tried to kind of work on it a little bit, but I got out of drawing for a long time. And this past year I started doing some commission work for people to make extra money, and it was the first time I'd ever actually made money selling artwork or doing art, which kind of gave me a boost in confidence. And I said, well, you know, I might as well try to, you know, sit down and do this while I can, while I kind of have time to do it. And so I've been working on it kind of like a job. You know, I get up every day, and when my fiance goes to work, I get my cup of coffee and sit there and draw all day, and then go teach my guitar lessons in the afternoon and try to be useful.
Cool. Well, I know you got some stuff you want to show us. What do you got here?
Well, this is a oil pastel. I do a lot of oil. This is like my regular drawing that's not superhero stuff, and this is just a boat.
The superhero could be on there.
Yeah, he's on there. He's hiding. And then these are
Fortress of Solitude.
His mobile fortress of Yep. Now this is a picture of the Green Lantern, which is one of Ryan's favorite guys, and this is what I started selling. A friend of my fiance's asked me to draw a picture of Daredevil, and I did it with an oil pastel, and just did the face, and I'd never really thought of doing that before, and it turned out kind of neat. So I started doing them, and
cool.
And people started buying them, so I kept doing them. So there's that, and then this is upside down Rip Raymond. This is a page that is colored and has the text overlaid on it. And what you do generally is you draw these up on Bristol board paper, and you know, and when you print them, they're like this size. They're considerably smaller. But you draw them in pencil, and then you go with ink and go over this in ink, which I did with this. And then, you know, you'll scan it in a computer or copy it. And what I did was print out a high-resolution copy of it and colored the copy with, you know, because you don't want to mess up your original. And you send that off to the printer from there, or so I'm told. I'm still working on it, so.
And now, do you have the storyline all done? And
well,
is it kind of evolving as it goes?
I'm kind of making it up as I go. This story that I'm working on now was written by a friend of mine named Michael Howell, who I met here at Comics and stuff. I have like a backstory for this guy. I've you know, every hero has an origin, and this guy's got like 50 of them, because you know, you can ask Justin, the guy that owns the place. I'll come in and every week and say, okay, Rip Raymond actually comes from this place, and he's like, I'll keep working on it. So I'm kind of...
Comes from Laurel, Mississippi, right?
He does, yeah. Well, you know, actually, I think what I tried to do was, I mean, you know, I grew up reading comic books and watching Star Wars. I mean, my childhood was a great time to be a nerd, because you had Indiana Jones, you had Star Wars, you had the X-Men, all this stuff that revolutionized cinema and revolutionized comics, kind of like how the Beatles did in the 60s, George Lucas and all these guys did in the 70s and 80s for stuff like this.
I never thought about
and
that.
So, you know, I sort of tried to, I have to resist the urge to like throw in the kitchen sink with this guy, you know, because I want to make him a little bit like Han Solo, and a little bit like Batman, and a little bit like this guy, and a little bit like that guy. But I'm finally, you know, after like 25 years of trying to figure this guy out, he's finally sort of telling me who he is, I think.
That's very cool. Now, is there any correlation between your writing of comic books and your songs?
I think it's the same thing as far as, you know, it's that thing of sitting down with a blank piece of paper and writing a song or writing a story. I mean, you know, you're challenged with that every time you sit down and try to do it, and just because you did it one time doesn't mean you're going to do it again. I mean, you know, Paul McCartney wrote Let It Be, and he hadn't written that in a long time, you know.
Right.
He's written some great songs, you know, when Come After Me, but you know what I mean? Like, you could write an amazing song like Let It Be, but there's no guarantee you're ever going to write another one. I mean, you kind of just have to wait for it to happen.
I hope you do, right? So.
And I think it's the same thing with comic books. I mean, you know, you could create Superman, but then never create anything like that again. So you sort of have to, in both situations, you just go with the muse and go with what, you know, you just have to kind of, I know that sounds kind of hippy-dippy, but you kind of just have to sit back and let it happen.
And inspiration comes from a lot of different places.
Yeah.
So, well, man, I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I think we're going to hear another song from you.
Yes.
No Pardon, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. We're looking forward to hearing that. We'll be right back with No Pardon from the comic book artist and musician Thomas Jackson on the Porch Sessions.
Pardon will be given, no prisoners will be made. The enemy who falls into my hands will fall into their graves. Leaves me with a heavy heart, it's a price that must be paid. No pardon will be given and no prisoners will be made. My eyes are sharp and deadly and my guns are quick and strong. No revenge moves faster than the horse that I ride on. The ocean, they cover all the world. Deeper than any fiction that your enemy can unfurl. Leaves me with a heavy heart, but it's a price that must be paid. No pardon will be given and no prisoners will be made. These words will not be broken and their meaning will be found. They are forever spoken in the air all around. When at night you toss and turn, listen close to the sound. It's the cries of my enemies as I shoot them down. A heavy heart, but it's a price that must be paid. No pardon will be given and no prisoners will be made.